In this tutorial, we're going to cover creating the planet Saturn as we did in class this past week. We're going to start out with a polygon sphere. I'm going to leave the default settings. I'm going to zoom in on that. I think I'm going to scale this up a bit. And just to kind of reiterate some of the topics that we discussed or some of the content we went over in class, I'm going to approach this with a minimal polygon count. I'm going to let the texture maps basically do a lot of the detail work for me. So now we're going to create the debris field that rotates around this planet. I'm going to hold down the space bar. I'll go to create polygon primitives again, and I'm going to choose platonic solids. I'm going to hit 4 on the keyboard so I can take this out from the center of my file. And now I'm going to hit 5 and then F to zoom in on that piece. Now we're going to be copying this quite a few times, and I want this to be a little bit more organic. So I'm just going to right click on it, choose vertex, and I'll go in and start to maybe just move a couple of these so it doesn't look quite so uniform and symmetrical. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to right click, go back to my object mode. Now I'm going to go to my top view because I want to be able to generate multiple copies of this, and I want them to go around the circumference of that planet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this down, and I'm going to move the pivot so that it's at the center of our planet itself. So I'm going to hold down D on the keyboard, and I'm going to grab the blue arrow, my z-axis arrow, and I'm going to put that right where the center of the planet is. So now that when I duplicate this with the duplicate special, it's going to generate those copies around the circumference the way I want. I'll hit W on the keyboard, and with that piece still selected, I'm going to go to Edit, Duplicate Special, and I'm going to go to the Attributes. Now in here, I'm going to set it to rotate on the y-axis 36 degrees. So if I go to rotate, it's X, Y, and Z from left to right. So the middle one is going to be 36. Now I know that if I were to generate the right amount, I would have 10 of these. 10 times 36 is 360. Now I already have one, so I'm going to change the copies to 9. And now I'll hit return to set that in the menu, and I'll hit apply. So if I look at my top view again, there are the pieces that I've just generated. Now that's a good starting point, so I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to shift select all of them, and I'm going to merge them together. So I'm going to hold down the space bar, and I'm going to go to mesh, and I'm going to choose combine, and Command S to save. Now that I've got those pieces, before I proceed, I think it might be a good idea to kind of review making our own tool shelf. So I'm going to do that now. Right above my toolbar with the white arrow, which is kind of a select vertex tool, you'll see a little gear. If I click on that, it gives me the option to introduce a new shelf. So I'll go to new shelf, and I'll name this appropriately. And I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to put some of the standard tools I know I'm going to be using for this process. So in order to add them to the shelf, if you recall, we hold the Command and the Shift together. And let's go to Modify, Center Pivot. And we'll go to Windows, and let's go to Rendering Editors, and we'll choose Hypershade. And then we'll go to Edit, and we'll go to Delete by Type History. That's another good one. And we'll add the others as we proceed. Now I've got my debris field selected, and I'm going to duplicate that. So I'll hit Command D, and then I'm going to hit E on the keyboard to get my rotation tool. I'm just going to rotate that out like so, and I'm going to scale it a bit. I want some variety in size and position on these, so I'm going to duplicate these a couple more times by hitting Command D, and I'll scale it in a little bit more. And once again, I'll rotate that. So we'll put one more in, and I'll rotate that once again, and I'll save. And now we're going to put that whole debris field together as one piece of geometry, so I'm going to shift select the other rings, and once again I'll hold down the space bar, I'll go to mesh, and I will go to combine. I'm going to click on delete by type history, and if I return to my perspective view and hit A on the keyboard for all, you can see now we've quickly put together the geometry that we want for our model. The next tutorial we'll do our texture mapping.